We are back, baby. We are fucking back. We're back. Yeah. Classic. We are back. We are back.
That's right. Happy Tuesday. We are back. It's been a couple days since I've been on the mic. No fault of anybody's, just life, doing life things. But it's good to be back. We got a great guest. Welcome to the Grid and Grind Show, brought to you by the In Off the Bench Podcast Network. Today, we're talking to Megan Medeiros. She's got an interesting fitness journey. We're going to get her story. We're going to talk about her transition from the Aces to the Lions and what that all entails and how it's seamlessly working so far, and what her goals and hopes and aspirations for the 2025 season will be. But before Megan joins us, we got to plug the greatest and best sponsors in the land. Chinook Seedery. Whether you're in the field or in the boardroom signing deals, Chinook helps you get the job done. 8 flavors, mild to wild. Go to your local grocery store, gas station, convenience store. Go to the snack aisle. Pick up the big blue bag of Chinook seeds. Promise you, you'll love them all, except for dill pickle. Not a fan. Relief Chiropractic. Come see my boy, Dr. Vic Robinson. He's got the magic hands. He's rejuvenating people. He is adding years to your life. Go for a free consultation. He'll do a needs assessment, and he'll hook you up with a tailored, prescriptive, custom plan that'll meet your needs. Not this out-of-the-box cookie-cutter mold, but something that fits you and what you want and what's going to help you live your best life. Memphis City Designs. Get your brands, gear, and logos on everything from shoes to underoos. Jesus One apparel. And finally, Old Dominick Distillery. Experience 150 years of tradition in the heart of downtown Memphis. From bourbon to vodka, whiskey to gin, Old Dominick's got you covered. Stop in today for a tour or to pick up your favorite bottle. And with that, all the business has been attended to. Now to get down to the real stuff. Help me welcome on to the show, Megan Medeiros. Megan, how are we doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am blessed. I tell everybody when they reciprocate the "how are you doing," I say, my 2 feet hit the ground this morning, and so I'm blessed. I'm very lucky to be able to do what I do. But with that, I appreciate you carving some time out. I want to get into your story a little bit. Obviously, the whole transition of the teams, we're going to get to all that. But before we can get to the present, we got to talk about the past. So let's get into this a little bit. You're in Delaware, and the weather is a little bit warmer. I mean, are you feeling yourself? You guys in tank tops and shorts now, or is it still like, long sleeves and pants and stuff like that? What are we rocking these days?
For me, not quite yet. I mean, I'm wearing short sleeves and pants, but it's like 56 right now, so it's pretty warm. I'll probably go without a jacket today, but we're getting there. It's definitely warming up.
I am embarrassed. It is 56 degrees here, and I'm dressed like I'm going into the Arctic Circle. It's ridiculous. In my defense, the past few days have been great. It's been like 75 or 80, and then all of a sudden we get a little hit of mid 50s, and it feels much colder than it is. So just work with me on that. Yeah, sure. But for you, getting into fitness, is that something that came as a kid going, from sport to sport, or did you find fitness later on through different avenues?
I think a little bit of both. So I played soccer growing up from when I was like 6 to like 18. And then in high school, I got into running. So I did track and field and kind of unwillingly cross country. So I did that. And then once I got into college, I got more interested in like lifting and not so much running and just making myself tired. So I started like working out in the gym, didn't really know what I was doing. But then I met some people that kind of helped me get started. And one of those people introduced me to CrossFit. So then I started going to a CrossFit gym and doing things like that. And then I found Grid. So just kind of like a natural progression. But yeah, I've always been like into athletic things.
Yeah, I think it's funny. All right. So on our podcast network, we've talked to over 500 different college athletes and Grid athletes and professional athletes. And we've had a bunch of soccer players on. And one of the the glaring things that stick out to me is that soccer players, despite the amount of running that they do, they don't like to run like in another sport or as training. It's like they do it so much that they don't like the track and field, or they don't like the cross country aspect. I just find it funny, like you not a fan of cross country, even though probably in the midst of every soccer game you're running 3 times as much as you would in a cross country event. That's crazy to me.
Most
But
likely.
but funny too. You know, it's one of those things. Like I'm not like this, but there's people out there that play the game of baseball and they don't want to watch it. They'd rather watch it live, but they don't want to watch it on TV just because they've played it and been around it for so long that it's not entertaining unless they're actually doing it. So I can understand that. But for you, you know, what's CrossFit like? You know, a lot of athletes that get into grid start with CrossFit, much like it sounds like you did. Um, were the intentions of CrossFit just to do it as a workout, or did you go in and get sucked in and then you just kind of, what everyone says, you drink the Kool-Aid and like you're in it?
I think I started out just kind of interested in it. Like it was something new, something fun where I could feel like I worked out and like did something without running like 8 miles or whatever. Not that I ran 8 miles very often, but you know, like just running or doing something like that. So it was like, cause you're lifting and you're doing more like cardio stuff, like the Metcons, you know, kind of work both. So I really liked that combination. But I feel like the more I got into it, I was like, oh, well, I'm kind of good at this movement and kind of good at this movement. Like maybe I can work on some other things and maybe try to do a competition. So I started doing like local competitions and things like that, and then doing like qualifiers and whatever. And so I just kind of like got sucked in definitely to like it tapped into my competitive side. So I liked that.
What is the CrossFit scene like in Delaware? Is it pretty popular? Is it something that, like, I feel like here in Florida, um, you can talk very leisurely about CrossFit, and everyone, depending on their level of from very novice to very experienced as far as their training goes or fitness, they know about CrossFit. But in Delaware, what is the popularity like for CrossFit?
I think it's definitely lower than in Florida just because we're smaller. Like we don't have a lot of competitions and things like that that are available. We have some pretty good CrossFit athletes in the state, but it's definitely not as big, I would say. It's more of like, I think the scene here is more of like we CrossFit for health and like fun and a little bit of competition, but we don't have like the huge comps that you guys have down there or anything like that.
Gotcha. So so you're a registered dietitian. What was that something that you did prior to CrossFit, or is that something that you kind of had a passion for because you were into CrossFit and into the fitness scene? You wanted to add that kind of to your repertoire.
I think I've always had a passion for nutrition. When I went to college for my bachelor's degree, I like started out as a dietetics major, and then just like life things, I was like, maybe this isn't for me. And I switched my major. So I studied health behavior science and strength and conditioning. So I was like, well, maybe let's go more like the physical route of health. I did that for a while. And then during the pandemic, I had a lot of time as furlough, and I just had lots of time to reflect. And I just thought, no, I think like I really do need to pursue the nutrition side. Like that's definitely where I should be. So I went back to school. I actually just recently graduated last year, so I'm a new dietitian.
All right. Let's go. Let's go. Anytime somebody tells me that they go back to school or they continue their education in any type of capacity, I'm all about that. Just because I think learning is foundational. And if you are someone who wants to continue to learn or continue to challenge yourself and continue to do something different, I'm all about that. That fires me up. Like I get pumped for other people when they tell me that. So shout out to you. That's big.
Thank you.
So what are you doing now as far as for a job? Like what are you are you helping clients, or are you working, you know, for someone else? Like, what's going on?
So I just finished coaching CrossFit. I was doing that for a little while, like while I was still in school. I'm about to start my job next week. So
Ooh,
I'll be working in a hospital setting, working with people that are inpatient, just various conditions, whatever comes into the hospital, helping them through their stay.
nice. Now, for that, that's kind of an interesting like scenario, because you, like, for a lot of people, like dietitians and you know, nutritionists, they kind of have like the sample of people that they know that they're going to be working with, so they kind of have an idea. But when you go into a hospital setting, like, you never know what you're going to get. um you know, that in and of itself is huge, because you got to be very knowledgeable, one, but you got to be a people person, in order to really relate and try to hold people accountable, so to speak, in a very, very sensitive situation. So, you know, once again, doing big things, like helping the people. You're for the people. I see you. I like it.
I try.
Hey, we just do the best we can. If you can't help yourself, help other people. That's the way I see it. And hopefully by doing that, you're helping yourself in return. But for you, you know, you got all this going on. You're going back to school. You're training CrossFit. Are you doing the Open? Did you
I'm
sign
not.
up for the Open?
I
All
did
right.
not. No.
Are you doing the workouts?
I did 25.2. My wife is doing, she didn't sign up, but she's doing the open just to kind of like test from previous years. So I kind of got sucked into doing it with her. But I didn't do the first one.
Okay. Who scored better? Let's get to the real talk. Who scored better? You or her?
I did, but I'm
Oh,
prouder of her because she got 2 bar muscle ups and last time she got none. So
that's progress. I mean, and
yeah,
hey, I think that's you know, really the epitome of what CrossFit is about, you know, being able to do more the next time that it comes, you know, you come face to face with it. Obviously functional movements, you know, are key too, cornerstone of CrossFit. But I think it's really key to be able to show the level of progress that you have. And, you know, whether it's 1 rep, 2 reps, 10 reps, a full round more than what you did, any little bit shows improvement. And that means one thing, Megan, that means you're fitter than what you were previously. So,
for
you know,
sure.
shout out to her. She's getting fitter by the day. Now, do you guys have like a competitive nature when it comes to CrossFit or even fitness in general? Or y'all are just like, we're whatever. We just like to have fun and support one another?
I think now we just like to have fun and support each other. So how we first met was we went to the same gym and we did a CrossFit competition together. So like we used to compete together all the time, like not against each other, but like team comps and stuff like that. So I think it was more competitive like years ago, but now we're both kind of like in the area of CrossFit is kind of just for fun. So it's not really as competitive.
You know, when I first started CrossFit, I was like 20. Oh, I'm gonna date myself here. I was like 26, and I was all about it, all about it. Probably until about 33 is when I was like, all right, now I gotta. Basically, when I had my first kid, I was like, all right, like priorities and things need to change a little bit. But the reason I bring that up is I find so much more like fun with CrossFit and working out in general without the pressure of like trying to be the best or trying to do the best or
Yeah,
you know, lifting the heaviest. I get satisfaction out of just being able to do it every day. And you know, it's a challenge to me every morning to get up and throw some weights around and run around and do CrossFit, because I've said this from day one. You know, if you do CrossFit, no matter what time, you're doing something that 99% of the population cannot or won't do. And that's what's up right there. So
absolutely.
we're in the 1%, Megan. So all right, how does grid fall into this? You know, how do you, from Delaware especially, I mean, obviously the MPGL was something years ago that was probably Northeast based. I mean, Madison Square Garden is where they held the first, events and drafts and all that. So it might have been that. But when did you first learn about grid?
So I first learned about grid. There was someone who I worked out with sometimes at my gym, who played on the Brawlers with Taylor. So I saw him doing like the testers and stuff, and like we would work out together sometimes. So I would learn about grid, and at that time it was like, the pro league, and it was so far above the level that I was at. But it was really cool to watch and like see the crazy things that they could do. But then like time went on and the league kind of went away. And then I stumbled upon the Florida Grid League, which it was called at the time, on Instagram, because I followed Taylor and she posted about it, like looking for people, or she was coaching. I don't remember what the post was, but she posted about it. So I was like, oh, grid is back. Like, let me look into this and see. And then I saw something for like where you could sign up to try out and things like that. And then I had sent videos to Taylor and tried out like through Instagram, I guess, and then got on the team. And that's about it.
When you sent the videos, what was your initial thoughts and feelings? Were you like, I have a chance at this, I don't have a chance at this? Were you shocked when they were like, hey, we want you to be a part of the team?
I actually was shocked. I didn't really think I had a chance. So this was in 2018, the second year of the league. So it was still kind of starting out. But like some of the testers I did compared to like what I can do now, or just not even close. So I was really surprised, but I was excited that I would be able to have the chance. And I knew I'd be able to, once I got with the team and like worked with Taylor and like the coaches and stuff, like improve things. Cause it was the first time I'd ever tried to do like a double touch, or like I never did that before. So yeah, it was definitely different.
Now it's triple touches, and before long it's going to be quadruple touches. I don't even know what that is, but it might be a thing.
Wait, something else will touch the bar. I don't know.
Yeah, it's what I've learned from talking to athletes is they try a bunch of different things, and if they can do it, they don't post it, because one, they don't want other teams to know what they can do, but two, they don't want this guy named Mather, the commissioner of the league, out there scourging for new, inventive, creative things to throw in there. So I find that funny, because you really don't know. You have an idea of what events and what races are going to be composed of, what elements, but you truly don't really know from year to year. It could be something new, and so you always got to stay on top of the game, working. And I talked to Nick Shappy of the Sharks, and he's doing his dumbbell box jumps instead of doing step overs. He's doing actual box jumps with the dumbbells, and like now everybody's doing it because that's the transition. And he didn't show anybody that until match time, and it was in person, and everybody was like, oh shit, we gotta change how we do this, because now the bar has been raised. But so yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of athletes out there that can do a lot of crazy things, and they're just keeping it in their back pocket in case they need it. You never know.
Yeah.
But
that's good. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's kind of what happened with like the med ball L-sit rope climbs. Someone did it on Instagram, and then it just like transitioned into being in the matches. So I'm sure there are plenty of other things that are gonna pop up.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when I look at it, it doesn't look like you have too much of a problem with it. It looks like you got that covered.
I got that one.
When you look at this picture, what is that difficult to do? Like, explain it to people like me who struggle just to do a regular rope climb, much less a legless L-sit with a metal rope climb. Like, what is the challenging part of this, or is it even challenging for you anymore?
I mean, it's definitely still challenging. I think it'd be silly to say it's not hard, but I think the hardest part is probably just that you can't use your legs. So like if you're doing a regular legless rope climb, you can kind of like move your knees up like you're running and you kind of get a little bit of momentum. But with
Yeah.
that, you don't have that, and your legs have to stay above your hips, like your feet have to stay above your hips. So like core strength, hip flexors, like holding everything up, and then you're weighted. So you have like, even though it's only 6 pounds, like it's something, it's still, it makes it a difference definitely when yourself up on the rope. So I think all
Oh,
of those things together just
I
challenge.
mean, where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your biceps? Like, what is like, is it the leg? Like, is it holding the med ball up? That's the where you feel it, or is it actual the pull and the biceps and the lats where you're trying to just pull yourself up the rope?
Both. So like the first rep might not really be as tough on your biceps, like in my experience, but then the second one, like I think your arms just start to fatigue faster. But I know like that match when I did that second one, my legs were like shaking on the last rep. So I mean, just holding everything so tight and making sure that your legs don't fall back down is probably the hardest part.
I mean, I couldn't even sit on the ground like that, much much less pull myself up a rope. Um, so talk to me about, you know, how long have you been in the league?
I started in 2018, so this will be 8. Yeah, this will be my 8th season. So I didn't
Wow.
compete in the As One tournament, but I did sign. I just wasn't able to make it because of the pandemic and everything that was going on. I
I
still counted
mean,
that.
of course,
I still
when
trained.
you look back on 8 seasons, did you think that this would be an 8 season, you know, sport for you, or did you, you know, what was the expectation when you started? You're just going year by year and whatever happens happens, or were you like, yeah, in the first year I could see myself doing this for a while?
I think I loved it enough to see myself doing it for a really long time, but I just wasn't sure like how it would play out and how the league grew and like the logistics of everything, because I'm traveling from Delaware, and like my very first season, I was lucky enough to, I had just graduated college and wasn't really like working any serious jobs necessarily. So had the ability to like stay with a friend in Florida for a week at a time. So I was able to like go to practice and then do the match. And the season was a lot more condensed at that time. So just doing that, I was like, I don't know how long, I'll be able to keep doing that. But then I just started to travel for the matches and practice virtually with the team. And so after that, I was like, okay, like I can keep doing this probably forever until they tell me you need to stop. You can't come back. So I'm locked in.
So you've been with the Aces the entire way up until this point, right?
Yes.
All right. So, you know, going into last season, I don't want to get too far down the weeds of recapping the entire career, because I mean, you have an illustrious career. You're a vet. You've been there 8 years now. So with the same team, I mean, I would venture to say, like, if there's anybody that could be labeled a captain of a team, it would be you, because of the longevity and dedication that you spent with one, you know, team. You know, especially coming from Delaware and traveling and doing all that, like that's high commitment. But for you, last season, at what point did you know like things this season were going to be different, or did you know until it was basically the end of the season?
I knew maybe like midway through the season, I had known that Taylor was planning to retire. So I wasn't really sure what that was going to look like for the following season, but obviously, like, that's a huge change because she had been the coach for all of my seasons. But it wasn't until, I don't even want to say Vegas, but Vegas is when like talk started happening about maybe like a merge or just more information about like what next season or this season would look like. But it really wasn't until like the end of the season, I would say, when we really like loosely finalized what was going to happen as far as like merging teams, and that got cleared by the league.
Right.
So we had like the okay to continue working towards that. Um, but yeah, I guess
At
that's
at the beginning of last season, you know, you guys knew that it's Taylor's last season, was there extra motivation to kind of try to go out and replicate what you did the season before, which is being the champion? Or, her retirement had, little to do on the motivate. You guys are going to be motivated to go out and win either way.
I think we were motivated to go out and win or try to win either way. It definitely put a little extra fire in me to like help her go out with like another championship or a really good season. And also like just trying to figure out for myself like what the following seasons would look like. I wanted to end on a really good note. It didn't necessarily happen, but that's okay. Yeah.
You have to be proud of the effort that you put in. I mean, you go into a situation where Vegas didn't end up being what it was designed to be. The league and the players and everyone came together and made a really good situation out of what could have been a bad situation. But what ended up happening is, most people know, like prior to the playoffs, the day before the playoffs started, there was 2 matches to finalize the regular season and the playoff seedings. And basically you just needed to win and you were in. And you end up having to take on a Fort Lauderdale team. But at that point, when you're that last regular season match, did you know what could transpire at that point? Knowing that, we're the Aces taking on the Lions, this could be a merged team next year, or you still had no idea what the specifics of this was going to be?
Yeah, we still didn't have really any idea. It had just been like an idea that was tossed in there, like, oh, that would be cool. But it wasn't anything like solid. We just knew that like we were losing a lot of teammates and they were losing a lot of teammates, and that was pretty much it. Going into that last match that we had, nothing was set. It was just kind of like, that would be fun.
Yeah. Well, you guys won that match. You got yourself into the playoffs as the 3 seed. And that's big. The downside, the plus side to being the 3 seed is you get to take on the 2 seed, which, the downside being is that the Wild ended up being the champions of the league. When you're going up against them, what was there any apprehension or any, like, not fear, but like, oh shit, we got to take these guys on? I know, like, you guys go into every match wanting to win, but I mean, realistically, when you look at the format of the race, you look at their athletes, you look at the season and how it has come together. Are you just happy to be in the playoffs at that point and you're going to take on anybody, or are you thinking like, man, I wish it wasn't them and I would rather be the 4 seed and take on the Sharks?
I think just because of how the match with the Sharks went, we all kind of wished we could play them again, however that looked. But, I mean, I think no matter what, like, I'll just speak for myself, but going into any match, I'm like, I'm happy to be here, going to give it my all no matter who we're playing against. And I try not to look too hard into, like, analyzing the team and, like, the other teams that we're playing against. Like, I know the Wild definitely has really strong people, really good people all around, but super strong people. So if I like look too hard into other teams' strengths, it doesn't do a lot for like the mental health of the team. So just try to like focus on our strengths and know like where we can maybe try to like win a race or where we might have to push a little harder. But yeah, I usually just focus on like us.
Gotta control what you can control. Can't worry about other folks. But when you see that the Wild win it all, were you surprised by that?
No, I don't think so. It was definitely a good match, that's for sure, and that's what you like to see, especially in the championship. But no, I wasn't surprised.
I think the strength component, the race format, I think it matched their strengths, pretty well. And not to say that it didn't for the Sharks, but the Sharks came down to a sprint relay in the match, the semifinal match against the Brigade, and it took everything they had to fight them off, which I don't know if that played a factor into them not being 100% for the championship, but it could have. But either way, when you look and you guys get eliminated, what's the emotions like knowing that okay, Taylor's retiring, kind of up in the air on what I want to do or even the direction that we're going? Like, when that all culminates, like how are you feeling and how's the team feeling at that point?
Once I realized that we weren't going to win the match, like we had that whole whatever happened, like the incident with the triad. I was like, okay, well, now like we all realized that we were just gonna have to finish, and like we didn't have a shot anymore at moving on. I think it didn't really hit though until the match ended, and it was like, okay, well, that was it. Like, there's nothing more. Like, we can still move on, but like Taylor's retiring, and then that's she like told everyone after the match, so it just obviously like drew up a bunch of emotions from everyone, and
Right.
it was tough. But I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do the next season. But after going out that way with like, and don't get me wrong, there were races where we could have done better. So it didn't, in my eyes, it didn't come down to losing to a technicality. It was, well, the technicality could have still happened, but we could have done better somewhere else.
Right.
But that was kind of like how it ended. So I was like, no, I'm not ending on that. Like, I have to come back and like fight for getting a little closer to another championship, if not getting the championship. So that made my decision really easy. But it was still like, it won't be this without Taylor, but
Yeah,
we're gonna end it for her.
well, it puts you in kind of a foreign territory, so to speak. You're committed to playing with the Lions. Obviously, you've re-signed and you're ready to go. But the foreign part is the jersey's going to be different, the colors are going to be different, the teammates are going to be different, the coaching, the ownership, all of that's going to be different. Now, your role might not change, but all of that, plays a part. How has the transition been thus far?
I think it's been pretty smooth as far as like, because we have our like, well, now we're one team, but we have the old Aces, little base of athletes, and the old Lions, little base
And
of
that's
athletes.
that's why I
Okay.
asked that, because you can definitely, like, in these scenarios, like, you can definitely have, like, a dividing line. You got the old Aces and you got the Lions, and now, like, trying to, like, get them to be cohesive and be, like, this team because, not any fault of their own, but, like, that's part of the coach's magic is being able to figure out how to make these two sets of people that have their set ways now come one and kind of regenerate a new way of doing things. And so, that's why I asked, because it can be difficult. You might know of the players, but you don't truly know them. And now that you're on a team with them, like, I was just curious if there was like learning curves and like communication things. I mean, and you guys may not have gotten into any of that yet with practices and stuff, but is there anything that you could foresee like being something that you guys really need to focus on and get a hold of, that way you can be the best that you can be?
Well, I think just making sure we keep up with communication, just since we have been working separately. So, like, the Aces have been working together, the Lions have been working together, but now we have to mesh and work together like we did in Vegas. And I think that worked really well. But I think continuing to make sure we have our communication going forward to just make sure that we're all on the same page. And like going into this, we had a lot of conversations and we all have the same goal, which is we want to be committed, show up, put in our best effort, and win. So I think with the common goals, we can all we're on the same page. So I think our specialties kind of mesh well. Like, we don't have a lot of overlap necessarily. So I think that works out well too.
Now, what for you, what are you anticipating? What you know races or what movements are you going to be key in performing, or do you even know yet?
I don't think I can say for certain just because it is a new team, but I know what I've done in the past. So hopefully it would be similar. I've been working my little injured right knee. We're almost back to normal. So I'm doing pistols again. So hopefully I'll be out there doing some pistols.
Pistols, some L-sit, med ball, legless rope climb, some deficit handstand push-ups. Oh, speaking of that, when this little transition happens, I'm just curious about one little thing, and that's, do you hold this in high regard? I mean, you, Paula, what you edge her out here, and does she still think about that? Are you living rent free in her head still, or do you even worry about that? I mean, it's close, don't get me wrong, but you
Yeah.
take it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that she still thinks about it. I think about it every time I get a notification that someone liked it, but that's about it. That was definitely a really fun race, and I had a lot of motivation going into it to, really just do the best I could. But I don't know. It'll be fun that now we're on the same team, so
Yeah, I
that'll
mean,
never happen again.
that'll be the motivation for her. If deficit handstand push-ups come up, like, she should want to do that over you, just for proving. But I don't think you're gonna let her. I mean, that looked like you are the queen of deficit handstand push-ups in my book. So
Thank you. Well, I'm never gonna willingly give something up, but I want to win. So whoever's gonna do it best and fastest, go for it. If it's
all
not
right.
me, it's not me.
Hey, and that's kind of a good segue into the last few sets of questions is, you know, knowing like that's how you feel. Take winning a championship out of it, because everybody that I ask, that's the goal for the season or the expectation. But what is outside of that? What would be a good expectation, or really a good goal for this first year with the Lions?
So not winning a championship.
No, I mean, obviously you want to win a championship, but outside of that, like what?
I think just going out there and looking like we've been playing together for seasons and seasons. So like we meshed really well in Vegas, and we had people from the brigade too, but as that super team, I think we played really well together and like we were a cohesive team. So I think if we can go out there and just kind of do the same thing and not, just look like we've practiced and like we've been playing together, because most of us are veterans. I mean, at this point, all of us are veterans, but yeah, I think just looking like a cohesive team and not like two teams combined. That would be my goal.
Yeah, it can be challenging, and you definitely got to work on the communication. And like you said, the first year of a transition, there can be the hiccups that can come with that, and the more that you can work through those, in practice and earlier, the better off you're going to be, and the closer you're going to be to reaching the goal of being like a fluid team going into the season, and ending the season, obviously, with a very smooth and comfortable like transition through this, all like it never even happened. But we're a couple months out from the season starting, the end of May in Miami. Everybody will be together for week one of the season. What, if anything, are you working on now? Are you trying to get better at anything right now for Grid, or are you just trying to maintain, get your, injury, back to 100%, and just trying to work on just being good at the things that you've been good at? Or are you actually, putting forth an effort to get better at something else?
I think just mostly right now, I'm working on getting my knee back to normal. We're almost there. But that's been my focus for like months. It's been such a long injury. But aside from that, I'm just kind of doing everything, I guess, just working on brushing up the skills for Grid. So the things I never really stopped training for Grid, to be honest. But yeah, just kind of getting the conditioning back with the different elements. So like working on my gymnastics, still trying to build my strength to hopefully get in some ladders and things like that this year. Just a little bit of everything, and then as we get closer, it'll get maybe a little bit more specific.
Yeah, for sure. What does training look like today? What's on the agenda for today? I always ask this question because I'm curious. Because if it's something, you know, something spicy, I might go out there and try it. Who knows?
I had some cleans, a lot
Ooh,
of clean
clean.
work, some strength stuff. I can't remember everything that I have, but I usually
Now, do
do.
do you
Usually do.
program your own stuff, or are you following a program, or are you following what the gym programs?
Taylor is my coach, so she has her
Oh.
her business, and I'm part of it as an
Mm.
athlete.
So yeah, she gonna throw a lot of barbell stuff in there.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
we're working on it.
It's a process. This is so hard. Like, it is so easy to lose strength, but so hard to gain it. And I feel like I'll just say it. Snatch is like my Achilles heel, and like you hit a PR, and I feel like that PR is a PR forever. Like
Yeah,
I can
it's great.
never snatch more than what I've PR'd. So like 240 is the most I've ever snatched in my entire life. And if you asked me to go out there and try to get close to it today, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
I'm the same
You know,
thing.
it's so frustrating because I know that I'm strong. Like I feel stronger, but for whatever reason, that is the one lift that I can't get any better at. So, but
It's just a
hey,
lot of
that's
pieces to it.
I mean, there it is. It's a Olympic lift. It's very complex. There's different components and different things that one little misstep, one little early pull here or there, and like it could mean everything. But Megan, before you get out of here, all right, you got any sponsors, anything that you're looking for? Just give you a chance now to either plug or promote, or endorse yourself for anybody that's out there that may want to sponsor you.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to shout out Performance Driven Physical Therapy for helping me with my knee. He's also one of my sponsors this season.
Nice.
And then if anyone's looking for grid programming, TaylorMade Athletics is the way to go. Um, Other than that, I don't really have anything to shout
Well,
out, but I'm always looking for sponsors if anyone's interested. You can look at my Instagram.
there it is. It is Medeiros underscore Meg underscore. I mean, did that bother you having to put two underscores in there? Or did
A
you,
little bit. A
I mean,
little bit.
isn't it frustrating, like, to create a username, like you can't just put your name,
Right.
like even my name, I feel like my last name is very unique. And like even my last name, like I had to put I in there just because like I didn't have the opportunity. And so like I feel like people who use underscores get pissed off because they have to use underscores just because they want their name on there, but it's not available.
Right. Like that last one, kind of annoying.
Yeah, right. It's like, God, why do I have to add this second one in there? But it is what it is. We know who you are. We know where to catch you on Insta. Megan, I appreciate the time that you spent with us today. I wish you obviously get back to 100%. You're close, and stay 100% for the entire season. And that
Thank
way
you.
the Lions get the best version of you, and you guys hopefully will have a magical season. And if there's anything I can do for you along the way, reach out. If there's anything you want me to push, plug, or promote, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you out.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. That's Megan Medeiros, everybody. If you like hearing Megan's story, or you just like hearing average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook. Head over to YouTube. Do three things for me: like, subscribe, notifications. That way you can help us out by giving us some likes. You can know when new content is being uploaded because we're throwing things up there every single day. It's college baseball, college gymnastics, United Grid League, Pros and Joes, and most recently, our College Baseball Tonight show that happens 3 or 4 times a week. So you don't want to miss out on any of that content. Next week, we got a good week coming at you. On the 18th, we got Cody Rice of the South Beach Palms. And on the 20th, we got Dylan Fullwood coming back, and he's bringing Vita Vetterkind. And they're attached at the hip. They're besties. From what I can tell and what I know, they're inseparable. So I'm waiting to have them on, and it's going to be a good story with them from the Breakers But this has been the Grit and Grind Show. As always, remember, strong body, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We're out. See y'all later. Peace.